Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, and welcome to those of you who are just joining us for your first session. I'm going to begin with a land acknowledgement. So I'm going to respectfully acknowledge the traditional and unceded territory of the Cowichan peoples on which I am honored and grateful to live, work, and learn. The photo that I have chosen for this evening is a picture of Mount Zuhalem, another one of our landmark mountains in the Cowichan Valley. Part of my journey for truth and reconciliation is to learn more of the history of the landmarks and historical areas around our valley. And Zuhalem was, I did not know this, so it's all good learning for me. Zuhalem was quite a legendary warrior and chief of the Cowichan people around the 1800s. And so it is an honor that a mountain is named after him, because it is believed that his remains are buried on the mountain in a sacred hidden cave. So this is a well-used mountain in our area for hiking, and it holds a lot of history here. So I thank everyone for being here tonight, and I'm honored to be coming to you from Cowichan.
Upal. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kate, and I am very grateful to be joining you from the unceded and traditional territory of the Tsimshian and Smellic-speaking peoples, who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. And this is one of our beautiful sunsets that we enjoyed this past summer in late August. And if you're up in the north here in the summer, it's light out till 11 or 11:30, and then it gets light out again in the morning about 4:35. So this picture in particular is reminding me how connected I am to the land that I live on and the land that I call home. My dad had a boat for his work. He was in the logging industry, and we had our boat docked there. And whether it was for work or for pleasure or for adventuring or for visiting, it's just very much a reminder to me that where we live becomes part of who we are. So I'm very grateful to be here. And at this time, we would welcome you to jot down in the chat the territory that you are joining us from. So great to see some familiar names,
Mhm.
new names.
It's great to have everybody here. So I'm one of your hosts. I'm Erica Roberts, and I am from the Cowichan Valley. And as you can see from our slide, I have been teaching for 20 plus years, and have mostly been an intermediate teacher, and I'm currently a grade 4 or 5 classroom teacher. My journey into literacy really began about 3 years ago, when I just knew I needed to know more about how to support my students in grade 4 and 5 who were coming to me with some very significant deficits. And it really was very fortunate timing that the lovely Anna Vieira, who is here with us tonight, and her colleagues created a lovely new diploma program at VIU, Vancouver Island University. And I highly recommend to anybody wanting to learn more. It's a very robust program, and has really, really helped support me in my learning around literacy. And I am now well on my way to being better able to support my students. And of course, it's also where I first met Katie. And
Yes.
we, as a cohort, and some of you are here with us tonight, and we appreciate you participating in the book study with us. We met, we hit it off, all of us, I think, and we've been fostering deep relationships. And this has just helped Katie and I, who are obviously not in the same region as each other, and we've been getting to know each other through this book study and through other conversations, and it's been fantastic. Katie.
Absolutely. Thanks, Erica. That was so great that we really wanted to um, showcase the learning that Erica and I have uh, uh, taken in for the last year. And for me, coming from the North, uh, the experiences are a little bit different. It's a little more trickier to get out of the north, and I'm so glad that I applied for the VIU program and met amazing people that are in this first cohort. And Vancouver Island University's Literacy, Language, and Learning program is very unique. It's the only one of its kind in BC. And we would strongly encourage everyone to consider looking into the program if you'd like to further your studies. We thought we'd start off with a Menti.
Yeah.
And so this is something new for many people, but we really enjoy them. You're going to need your phone. And what this does is it gives us a chance to interact. So you can use your phone to access the QR code, which will take you to a direct link for Menti. And we would love to see where we are on the map.
For those of you that perhaps are not with us from BC, if you could just pop in the chat exactly where you're coming from tonight, that would be great. It was quite difficult to get a world map big enough for people to see, and so we went with BC.
A few more popping up, several from Vancouver Island, and the Lower Mainland looks like Vancouver. Got a few more in the central BC.
There we go. So we just wanted to, yay, highlight the fact that we will, at the end of tonight's session, again, do a draw. One lucky participant this evening will win a copy of Strive for 5. So hang on until the end. You might be the lucky winner. All right. So our session this evening is going to have a look at move number 2, which is the teaching phonics explicitly and systematically. It will include a discussion breakout room number 1. And we're going to give you lots of time to have discussion with guiding questions. Then we'll move into, we'll come out of the breakout room first and we'll do a discussion. We'll fill you in on a few takeaways that we feel were important here. Move on to move number 3, which is teach decoding strategies, not queuing strategies. And we'll do the same thing all over again, breakout room, come out of that and look at a few takeaways before we do the book draw. And then a final move on to preparing for November 4th.
And before we begin our first breakout session, we wanted to ground ourselves in the First Peoples Principles of Learning. This is a guiding document in our curriculum for BC and really gives us a sense of Indigenous pedagogy and how it's so important that we are reflective in our practice, not just with our students, but also as lifelong learners. So we're sticking to the 2 principles for this particular session. Again, the first being learning involves patience and time. So we are recognizing that we all are coming into this learning environment from different stages at different levels of understanding. Some of us are starting, some of us have been doing this work for quite some time. So we want to be gentle on ourselves and remind ourselves to be kind and respectful in our conversations this evening. And also, learning is holistic, reflexive, reflective, experiential, and relational. And we know that all learning is grounded in relationship. And that's not just relationship between others, but also the relationship we have to the land upon which we live and work and learn, and how that shapes who we are and shapes how we teach in the classroom. So here we go. We're focusing on move 2 for this first breakout, teaching phonics explicitly and systematically.
So we're going to have a chat about how phonics is phonics different from phonemic awareness? What do the terms explicit and systematic mean when it comes to phonics? We also will talk a little bit. Lindsay shares her thoughts on making phonics engaging, and so we will talk about whether it's been a concern of yours in the past and how we can make it more drill and thrill rather than drill and kill. We'll have you discuss how Lindsay recommends using spelling assessments in a show what you know, and have you discuss whether this is different from what you may or may not have done in the past. What resources and routines will you use moving forward to support phonics instruction with your students? And of course, how does this move connect to BC Language Arts curriculum? And how does it specifically connect to you, your grade or your role within your school? So we hope that you'll have a very thorough discussion. We're going to give you about 15 to 20 minutes of discussion time before we come out of the breakout room. Please watch for the little reminder of the time countdown, because eventually that will come on to remind you you'll be coming back to the main room. And with that, I believe we're ready, Alicia, to go into our rooms. Enjoy your discussion, everybody.
Welcome back to the main group. We would invite you to share something in the chat that resonated with you from your breakout session. We'd love to hear about it. I know Erica and I both popped into one of the breakout rooms and engaged in conversation and had a listen. Lots of conversation in my group about what intervention might look like for upper primary and intermediate grades. That was really interesting to hear.
Might take people, they might be typing essays in there. Who knows?
What's happening?
There we go. Yeah, lots of good work going on in schools all over the province, which is really great to hear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the need for BC curriculum to be updated to reflect best practices that is grounded in science and evidence-based research. Great, sharing resources, perhaps giving some titles of some good reads.
Yeah.
How we support our high intermediate students who are still displaying deficits in their learning and their reading and writing skills. UFly becoming popular. Absolutely. We're definitely seeing that, I think, across the province.
Yeah, and definitely need to look at removing 3Qing from our curriculum. All right. Shall we, just as people are, please carry on popping things in the chat. I think in the interest of time, we'll just move on to our key takeaways here. And so key takeaway 1, research supports explicit and systematic phonics instruction. As Kemeny points out, that if you teach phonics in an incidental way or only when the opportunity presents itself, students will have gaps in their phonics knowledge. Therefore, explicit and systematic is the way to go. And of course, is thoroughly supported by the research.
Key takeaway number 2, there is no perfect scope and sequence, which of course is the order that we introduce grapheme phoneme correspondences, but it is important to follow one. We want to make sure that our teaching is intentional, it's explicit, and it's direct. I know many of us follow what is often referred to as the SAT-PIN scope and sequence. There's some slight variances to that, but it is so important to remember that kids can begin blending and segmenting right from even the first 6 of the SAT-PIN order. And that's really what we want to get to, is have kids practice how to segment and blend.
Okay, takeaway number 3, letter of the week is not fast enough for effective phonics instruction. Some programs recommend a letter a day. There's research to support 2 to 3 times per week as ideal, including especially with at-risk learners. We want daily cumulative review of the letters and letter sounds to ensure that students have the most exposures and the most repetition of practice. Letter of the week just does not provide this. Takeaway 4, daily phonics lessons should follow an I do, we do, you do approach. It is crucial that students receive direct instruction, see it modeled, and have plenty of opportunities to practice. And of course, don't ever be surprised if you need to do more than I do, we do, you do. It's likely it's I do, we do, I do, we do, you do, I do, you do. Who knows how many times you're going to have to go through that cycle, but it could be quite a few.
Key takeaway number 5, practice is essential, including providing all students with multiple opportunities to respond during each lesson. And I know Dr. Anita Archer talks about this. We don't, as teachers, allow enough time for children to practice what they are learning. And the goal is not just to do it, but the goal is to have kids gain those skills to automaticity with fluency. So we want kids to solidify their learning and to have it stored into their long-term memory. And one of the best shifts that I made in my teaching practice was to incorporate what is called a must-do activity, which were opportunities for kids to practice for a short amount of time before they moved on to, let's say, a preferred activity.
And takeaway number 6, while there isn't solid research to support multisensory methods, they may be motivating for students and help with focus, so there's no reason not to include them. It is, however, important that we do remember that reading always involves visual and auditory senses. What we're talking about here really is the addition of the kinesthetic and tactile elements, and there just really isn't any research that supports whether it does or doesn't have a positive effect on reading itself. That said, it may have a positive attitude, like a positive effect on the student's attitude. It may help keep them engaged. So at your discretion. All right, we
All right,
are
we're moving
on.
on with move 3.
Yep. Move number 3, teach decoding strategies, not cueing strategies. And we're just going to move right on to our discussion questions to have a look here because we are conscious of the time.
Yes. So here are our discussion questions for move number 3. What is the 3 cueing system? Why do we not want to teach these strategies? We've already touched on that, I think, in the first discussion, so we can elaborate on the second group, breakout group. Number 2, what is orthographic mapping and how does it differ from decoding? Number 3, talk a little bit about what might be what you have done in the past and what the chapter is providing perhaps is something that you might want to shift toward and encouraging more decoding strategies instead of cueing strategies. So that would be a great discussion. Number 4, is this move something that will need to be communicated to parents and guardians of our students? And so how we can engage and build relationships, strengthen relationships with parents and families so that they can continue supporting their children at home. How do we do this? And number 5, how does this move connect to the BC Language Arts curriculum? And how it specifically connects to your grade and to your role as an educator? Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are mixing up the slides a little bit, and we wanted to bring back another Menti. So at this time, you can use your phone and you can answer the question. Effective phonics instruction is, you can fill in the blank. And I will do it too. Is this the word cloud, Erica? Can't remember which one this one is. Oh, it is.
Yes, there it is.
There we go.
It just takes a minute to get started, and then it makes its beautiful arrangement.
Life-changing. Effective phonics instruction is life-changing. It's not worksheets. I love it.
Yeah, sequential, perky paste. There it is.
It is
Perky
cumulative.
paste.
Yeah, vital. It is fun, absolutely. It is imperative. Scaffolded.
I love how it just keeps changing. It's so great.
Confidence boosting.
Equitable.
Empowering, yes. Meaningful.
That's fantastic.
Equitable, love it.
Okay, so I think
Awesome.
we should probably move on to the next slide.
Yes.
So keep your Menti phone open because we've got another one. Oops. Here. I'll put the code there again.
Perfect.
But if you had your phone open, you should now have the next.
Yes, so this is not a word cloud, and we'd love to have you participate and answer the question, what strategies for success have you tried or will you try? The use of whiteboards, absolutely, that's essential, I think, to any phonics program. Quick and easy. Dictation.
Word ladders and word chains, those are great too. My kids love those.
UFly foundations and onlit instructional videos, fantastic. Lookalike words.
All of them. I love it, all of them.
Yeah, adhering to a scope and sequence, sticking to that scope and sequence that you have chosen. Using letter manipulatives. I really enjoy the felt letters. Magnet letters, yes, absolutely. Fluency practice, so important. Embedded picture mnemonics, word chains again. This is fantastic. Any more? Partner reading, paragraph shrinking, absolutely. Finger tracking.
Becoming a pro with the code, mirrors, multi, all of that. Excellent. This is so cool.
And just a reminder too, that learning involves patience and time. If we really want to shift our practices, we want to be mindful that we can try maybe one thing, maybe two things at a time so that we are proficient in our instructional practices. And then we can continue adding as we shift to evidence-based and practices. So we're going to go into move takeaway number 1, move 3, takeaway 1. When students learn to read using pattern text or by guessing words based on pictures, they may initially look successful, but we know that these are the strategies that poor readers use. We want to teach the strategies that strong readers use.
All right, and key takeaway number 2. So just note how Move 3, Recommendation 27A from the Ontario Human Rights Commission's Right to Read report, remove all references to queuing systems, and guessing strategies for word reading. For those of you that don't know, the Ontario Human Rights Commission's Right to Read report is a very important report, not just for Ontario, but for all of Canada. I'm sure you've noted in the book, Kemeny mentions the National Reading Panel, which of course was from the year 2000. The Ontario Human Rights Commission Right to Read report is newer than that. And, you can imagine how much more research was had between the year 2000 and I think it was 2019-ish when the Human Rights Commission did their Right to Read. And so the next slide, Alicia, if you could just move forward, there it is. The Ontario Human Rights Commission Right to Read. In the slide deck, we've embedded a hyperlink. I do believe at some point the slides will be sent out. So we highly encourage you to read, at the very least, the executive report is a little bit shorter. And so just important for us to remember that we really don't want to do 3 queuing, and that's come right out of the recommendations from this report.
Also, just to mention about the Right to Read report, it is available in audio. So if you like to walk or you like to exercise, you might choose to listen to that instead of a podcast. Takeaway number 3, educators can encourage students to finger track, to keep their eyes on the word and decode, and can provide an unknown sound rather than encouraging a child to guess the sound. Adults at home can be supported to do the same. I often find that when kids are really learning how to break the code and how to read for the first time, whether it's in kindergarten, grade 1 or beyond, They naturally want to look at the picture, and I often cover it with my hand or an index card and have to remind them to keep their eyes on the word itself. So it takes practice for kids to get into that good habit for reading.
And takeaway number 4 is continuous blending and breaking multisyllabic words into parts can help students decode. There is some discussion about diving deep into syllables, but we do have multisyllabic words, and students do sometimes need to break those up so that they can decode properly. And
here we are. Thank you
Hi.
very much for joining us for session 2 of our book study, Toets at Newsome. Thank you. Thank you very much to Alicia. We have our next session, which will be Monday, November 4th, which is 2 weeks' time, 7 p.m., where we're focusing on Move 4 and Move 5. We encourage you to read through those 2 chapters and join us again in 2 weeks' time. Before we say goodnight, we would love to announce the name for the winner of our Strive for 5.
Excellent. And tonight's winner is Judith Stedman. Judith, if you're still on the call, I hope you are. Please email info@dyslexiacanada.org and just let Sandra, the real Sandra McGill, know that you are our prize winner, and provide your address, and we will pop that in the mail to you as soon as possible. Thanks.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Once again, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thank you for giving us an extra 15 minutes to carry on these important conversations. We'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.